Oh, you hit the button. Yay! You're actually Happy New Year, everybody. It's our first episode of 2025, and finally everybody is getting settled into our new year. And we decided to invite a friend back to join us this week. We have Frank from originally we got you on the show talking about Pray for Villains, and now I decided I wanted to have you back to talk about a couple of the other bands that you participate in and kind of like how do you work all those schedules out and your functions for every day, because that just has to be exhausting. So I know that you play and Pray for Villains, and you are in the Exhausted band.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have F is for Frank.
Yep.
Or is that backwards?
No, that's right.
Okay. Is it just the three, or do you have a fourth one out there?
I have 3 bands, and then I did like a solo project that has like recordings of stuff.
Okay.
So those are the 4 projects that I've been a part of.
What? You need to quiet down, Bishop. You're making a lot of noise in the background. I know. Can you go in the other room with your toys? My patience. Oh, it's getting better. So you had a solo project that you worked on.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And what was that? What was that one titled?
That one was called The Madness and the Madman. I did that for like 4 years during the hiatus between when. So the Pray for Villains used to be called Flux, and then we dissolved and we all moved out and had kids and like separated, and then we came back together. And during that dead space, I had to do something musically, so I did the solo stuff.
So, like, can that still be found?
Yeah, it's on Spotify. Yep. Yeah. It's all like home recordings and like I did it all in house, just trying to learn how to do some of that stuff and understand it better. And now when I go into a big studio, like I kind of know what they want, so I'm usually pretty good at it. You know, it's to build that skill as well, because it's my favorite part is making the music. So I just want to make sure that I'm like on the level when I go in, and I'm got to do my part in it.
That's cool. And then, when did you start with the Exhausted band?
That was a year and a half or 2 years ago. Me and my buddy Michael Scott, the other guitar player in the band, he's like a teacher, and like he lives out of town right now. I think he lives in Huron, just outside of Huron. But we did like he's got his own solo project, and we were doing little collaborations where I'd come in and play solos over his stuff, and then he'd grab Nick Murphy from Nodes of Randvier to sing over the top of those, and that just turned into a band eventually, where we just started finding other killers to try to make that thing a super group, like a little local super group. So.
Okay, and then Frank with an F,
or
F is for Frank.
F is for Frank is a band I joined that was it's a pop punk band initially.
I've actually checked it out.
It used to be called Manther, and Ken Richter, that's his project. So Ken Richter runs Independent Body Works, and he's the singer of that band. And a lot of the songs were written by him, and then I just kind of came in and like put fancy guitar over it. So.
Okay, I was wondering. I was like, did he name that, or is it something?
They did. They thought it was fucking hilarious to name it after me after I joined the band. And I was protesting because it sounds narcissistic as fuck.
Because I was like, I thought about that, and I was like,
yeah, I did not name that.
Okay, well, like I said, I didn't know if that was something like that was like your own kind of pet project that expanded, or if it was, like
it sounds like that, but it's not. No, it's another guy who writes most of the songs. I do the riffs and the guitar stuff, but I don't write like the lyrics or sing or anything
really. Okay, so Pray for Villains has been like your long time, and then all of these other groups have just kind of like joined at different time periods.
Yeah, I kind of like I started with the Flux and the Pray for Villains thing, and I used to. I still have my kids. I have 4 children, right? And I have primary custody of them now. But at one point, I didn't, and I saw them part time. So when I saw them part time, I ended up starting all these other bands to try to fill my time. And then I got custody of my kids, so now I've got to like juggle all that
What?
at
Then
once.
that's kind of like pause that for a second, Alex. Hey,
Never
no,
fails.
you cannot.
The kid. It's okay.
Yep.
It's totally okay. That's how it works.
Wherever he's hiding, he's making so much noise in the background that I can't hear what's going on. I don't know where he just took off to. Sorry, I don't know if you guys could hear the clackering noise in the background, but I'm like, this is too much for my brain back here.
Okay. That's okay. I mean, it is. It can be distracted with the kids running around. It's hard because you got
Well,
the
I
mom ears, so it's like, stop it.
So, and I understand what you're saying about like trying to fill up that excess time when
Yeah.
your kids are not home and they're gone, because I kind of went through something like that with my kids when they were little too, where like they lived 8.5, 12 hours from me, and so like when I had them, my focus was all on that. But then when they were gone, I was like, what do I do with my time?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just like worked all the time.
Yeah.
Great for money,
Yeah.
not so great for my mental health.
Yeah.
So
Now
like
your phone's always blowing up from kids texting you, "Mom, where are you at? You're not home yet."
lots of late night Taco Bell runs when the kids were home because I still worked nights. Yeah, it was a lot. So, and you have 4 boys?
Yep. 4 boys. Yeah.
How do you keep your sanity? I have one boy.
I don't know how to. I have older boys. I have some older boys. And while they can be just as annoying as the little ones, generally my boys are pretty well behaved and pretty structured. So I don't worry too much about them. They're all pretty self sufficient. There's chores in my house and like some sort of regiment, and things get done in a fairly timely manner without me being a Nazi and like I don't want to be that dictator all the time. But yeah, they do pretty well. When there's a lot of stuff going on during the week for all of them, like each one of them has a thing, then it gets a little hectic. But
Yeah. Well, like I have the 4 kids too, but my age spread is 28 to 8.
Oh,
Like the
that's a
oldest
big
one
spread.
is 28. Yeah, she just turned 28. I had to think about that one for a second. She just turned 28, and the littlest one is about to turn 8.
Okay,
And then
so my
there's like
youngest is 8 too. Yeah.
the in between. So I really don't have like a lot, but just that he's a lot. And so sometimes I always have to wonder, I'm like, how does the rest of the world manage busy schedules and have that like over the top?
Yeah, structure. It's just making sure that you have like some sort of baseline structure. And also, I guess as a parent, you have to accept that chaos is now part of your life. And there is the structure is like an outline that is going to get fucked up all the time. So don't fly off the rails when it don't work out. But yeah.
So how like when do you have like a practice area at home, or like when you're practicing, do you go to like, do you guys have like a garage band area where you practice and then the kids like, oh, we're gonna go to practice with dad?
No. So my oldest is 16, and
Oh, nice.
I have a 14-year-old too. 13. He's gonna be 14. But they usually watch the little guys. So the little guys,
Okay.
they'll stay home with him when I run off and do that kind of stuff because it's always at somebody's house and somebody's basements for the bands. And
Okay.
then when I practice, obviously by myself, they're accustomed. These kids grew up with heavy metal and music blaring. They don't even doesn't even phase them watching dad play guitar. They just think I'm boring, which I'm okay
I
with.
was gonna ask you, like, are they in that phase where they're like, whatever, it's not really
Not
that
cool.
cool, or they're
Yeah,
in
it's
that
not
phase where
cool.
like, my dad's a rocker and this is so awesome?
No, they're not like that at all. But they didn't go to a lot of shows either growing up. Like that, they didn't come out to a lot of the shows. They came to a few, but they didn't come out to like some of the bigger ones to see like an actual crowd. They'd see like the bands and their girlfriends. You know?
Oh. Does your oldest ever go to shows with you now?
No, no, he's never
Oh, see,
asked.
that's like some of like Alex and I's favorite times, and I think that Alex and Ray were about that like 14 and 15 when we started going to a lot of shows and just like enjoying the music together, and it was a great experience for us. So
All I can think about is mindless self-indulgence.
oh god, you were like 10 when I took you to that show. You guys were still kind of little. We drove from Sioux Falls to Minneapolis to go see the Birthday Massacre one year. And it was the Dirty Little Rabbits, the Birthday Massacre, and Mindless Self-Indulgence. And I literally had the oldest person in the room and the youngest people in the room with me at the show. Because
That
it
was my introduction to them.
Like
Yeah, that's good stuff.
that like 16 to 20-year-olds, and then I had the two little kids that were standing on the balcony area, and then the older person that was with us. Like, oh my goodness. But that was kind of how I broke these guys in. I mean, like, have you guys had that kind of opportunity with you and your boys yet?
The boys just don't seem to have much of an interest. So the two middle children have Leo and Nova have came out to shows on multiple occasions with me, but they just kind of hang out and then go home and don't want to come back. And I don't. I
You know,
never.
maybe a little bit.
I never
Yeah,
force
maybe
these
later
things.
on in life.
Yeah, I never force these things. If they like music, great. If they want to be musical, great. If they want to go to concerts, great. If they don't, that's it's their choice.
So, for you and your kind of like musical journey, did you start that like at their age where you kind of were like, ooh, I want to be a musician? Like, where did you kind of get your background for what you do?
I knew pretty early in life that I was gonna want to play music. I didn't. You have the dream that you're gonna make money. Now I'm 40, so there ain't no money coming in. But when I was real young, I knew I wanted to play music. Oh yeah, yeah. I think my first inklings of it was my parents took me to the Scorpions, and they were singing "Winds of Change." He does that whistle at the beginning of that song, and it was
I love that
live,
song.
and I got wicked goosebumps. And it was that moment. It was like I want to know how he did that, and then it just turned into like guitar and the whole 9 yards. And I tried multiple times till I was like 15 years old to get a guitar. I'd get one, break it, get one, we'd move and lose it. It was like things would just happen until I got a job. And then I bought an acoustic guitar and I started learning acoustic stuff. And then the metal just came right out of me. It just started happening.
So it sounds like you're pretty much self-taught then.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
For the most part. Did you ever find yourself at a point where you were like looking online for like videos to learn from, or did you like seek out other instructors to kind of be like, hey, I have a question?
I didn't really. So I had a guitar teacher for like 2 or 3 sessions. It's funny because I play shows with him now. Is Steve McFarland. He plays in Big Red Rocket around town here.
Okay.
Yeah, and but our first outing, he was trying to teach me chords and like music theory, and I had no interest in that. I wanted to play Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and that kind of stuff, and he was just not the teacher for that kind of stuff. He was trying to teach me like rockabilly and like things I wasn't into. Jazz, I wasn't interested in any of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't last very long with him.
Sorry, but do you think that those lessons kind of play in later in life, even though you're not interested in maybe playing that type of music? Can you see how learning like all of those styles would, like at the end of the day, play into a good spot?
Absolutely. So like that's when I started, and I just didn't want to do that stuff, so I focused on what I wanted, and I started learning just like punk music. And then from punk music, I could learn the power chords to then play like Metallica, which was the goal. And then once I learned Metallica, then I learned all the Testament and Opeth and all the crazier stuff. And then I got into guitar heroes like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, and guys like that. And then I was off. Then it was off. Then I was into. I'd learn anything that you could teach me. I was just trying to figure out as much as I could to be as well versed as I could. And I listen to stuff other than metal too. I don't just listen to metal, but I like John Mayer. I like Joe Bonamassa. Recently I've been listening to some country, which is surprising because I don't generally like country.
I am the
But
same way. We have some upcoming interviews that are not like my typical genre, but at the same time, when I came across it, I was like, this really isn't so bad.
no, for me it's great melodies. So if there's great melodies and like a catchy hook, it's probably
Yeah.
going to get me. And if it sounds authentic, because if it sounds fake to me, that'll turn me off immediately. I like things where it just feels like the person is actually expressing their feelings or emotions inside the music, like a reflection of their personality. That is the draw for music to me.
Yeah. And so when you post a lot of videos on Facebook at least, because I'm a Facebooker. I don't know like if Alex is much of an Instagrammer or Facebook, but like I find that I tend to run across my interest in music on Facebook. But so I see you posting a lot of where you're like just playing some riffs today. Do you get a lot of those, or just like spur of the moment? I'm just kind of hanging out, or is it like I've worked on it for a while and this is where I've gotten?
They're definitely spur of the moment for the most part with me. I'll be watching a movie, sitting down, watching like Gladiator or something. Like when I was playing that riff the other day, I just got out of practice and they were trying to find a riff to follow in a song, and I came up with that riff that I shared.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
like it's just one of those things. Is like once I turn on the creativity, like the muse usually talks to me because I'm not always trying to turn it on. I like wait for certain moments to try to see if something will spill out of me.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand that from like a different, like my mental muse is always like right after I leave the show bar at the end of the night. I'll get in my car and I'm like, I wish I could just log into Twitch like right now and have like everything that's in my brain coming out
Yeah.
in this conversation, because it would just like it would flow and I'm like in that space. So I'm assuming that that's kind of how that works for you too. Like you get out, but your brain is still just like going.
Yeah, it's kind of like, at least for me, it's like I can hear something, and then I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm hearing exactly and make it real. So um, that can sometimes be quick and sometimes real slow. On average, it doesn't take that long, but usually, I have an idea and then I'm just trying to make it real.
And then how often do those find their way into like whatever project you're working on at that point?
Uh, Percentage wise, it's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of riffs that made it into songs or entire songs that I found a riff and then I just more kept coming, and like in Pray for Villains, there's a song called Dust. That one was I put all those riffs together, so it's just one of those things because it spills out. You know, the universe gives you the whole thing, and you're like, oh, really? Okay, all right. And then the lyrics start coming. You're like, oh, Jesus, better take this down. Yeah.
The
I don't
music
think
God
it's
has
anything to do
spoken.
necessarily with just me as an individual, but I'm there to catch it when it comes, and I know how to transfer it.
So, how do you balance all of these bands? Like that's a lot of projects.
It's organizing them, and I think just the fact that they kind of came out the way they did really helped to me being able to do that because I haven't had like a second cycle with all of them at the same time. But the Pray for Villains stuff, like all that was written before I even joined F is for Frank. So all that stuff was already done, and we were playing it live. And some of those songs we've been playing live for 10 years, so that wasn't a big stretch for me to then take another project on. But with the F is for Frank guys, there's probably 30 songs, 25 songs that we had to learn, and some new ones that we wrote that are in there. So that took a little bit. to get all those in my brain. And even now, if I don't practice them, I kind of forget them. And then the exhausted guys were just after the episode for Frank. So it's like as soon as I get done doing a bunch of writing, I end up with another band, and then we do another set of writing, and my brain works as long as I'm using it. If practice happens every week, I'll be fine. But if it doesn't, I start forgetting shit.
Say, I like, how often do you, like, have you ever had it to where you like got it on stage and you're like, oh wait, this is the wrong band for what I'm playing?
I've never done that, but I've definitely been in the middle of songs and been like, "Uh-oh, what's the next part?" Like that's definitely happened, and had to improv till I find a part I know.
That would be my fear, having that many projects at one time, that I would somewhere get a cross up in there, and nobody else in the presence of that may know that there was a cross up, but in my mind I would always be like, that one time that I did this thing. So that would terrify me.
See,
one project at a time.
I'm not like stage fright like that. I don't have any sort of like fear of that because I've screwed up so many times on stage that I'm just like kind of numb to it.
Like, yeah, the show goes on. It's okay.
Yeah. There's probably a level of anxiety at the beginning of shows. I think everybody has that. But then once the show's going, it is. I've learned to accept it. Sometimes it ain't gonna go perfect.
All right,
that's okay with me.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Just from working behind the bar at a show club that I work at, that there's sometimes where things just don't go like they're supposed to.
No.
So, yeah, that would I would just be terrified at that point completely. Do you sorry. As far as like the bands go, and seeing that there's 3 of them and all of you are supposed adults, because I don't think any of us really in the showbiz world ever really grow up, and
now we're stubborn like that.
I mean, that's so much work to grow up.
It's boring. Just say it like it is. It's boring. I mean, yeah, we gotta be mom and dad sometimes, but it's boring.
Yeah, I always get told I'm mean. That's always what it is. You're mean. But how does that all work when you work with a number of different bands for like scheduling shows? Like, do you guys all these bands want to do a show? Hey, we're gonna try to do like a show every week during the month of January, and you're like,
yeah, that sometimes happens. So there's been a few occasions where it's like I play like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or like a time in the middle of the week, and then both days on the weekend. I mean, it happens every now and then where they get stacked, but generally I keep a good schedule on my phone, so I kind of know what's there and what's not there, so we can not double book me. There was a time at Four Winds where I was playing on one stage, and then I had to run to another stage at another venue and play. So that can be stressful.
That would be a lot.
Yeah, but I'm in bands.
Like, how much time in between did you get?
Did
maybe
you get, 30,
at least
35 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
That's barely enough for a sandwich and a pee break.
Oh, there ain't none of that. Yeah, there ain't none of that. No. There ain't no pee break.
Fat kid gotta eat.
I'm starving. I gotta eat.
Yeah, I got my gummy worms for a reason.
Yeah, don't take that kid on a long road trip.
But so like in Exhausted, there's another guy named Doug. Doug Hare is his name on Facebook. He plays in The Disarmed, he plays in Wives' Tales, and then he plays in Exhausted too. So he's in a bunch of bands. So there's a couple of us band whores roaming around who play in a bunch of bands.
Well, and I feel like a number of bands through the years in mainstream music will, have their main project, and then once they're like good and solidified in the industry, they kind of branch off and they have their side projects. And it might just be like one side project. But I'm like, they have all these people to like run around and facilitate all of these different things for them. But as for like when you're doing it, it's just you facilitating your own schedule and trying to keep everything straight. And have this life in kind of the entertainment arts world while still trying to maintain it. I also have a day job.
Yep.
And I also have a family, and that is such a balance. And for people that I see that are really rocking that balance, I give you so much props, and then I'm so jealous that you can manage that balance and make it look so effortlessly. Because for me, it's like today I'm like, okay, we have to go to the store, but we have to make it fast because I have to get home and let the dogs out, and I have to make dinner, and I have to be on the podcast by this time, and I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah. Some days are definitely like that where I'm in a hurry, I'm just trying to, and when I go to the store, I ain't putzing around. I'm in and out. Like I don't, I can make a run in 10 minutes, run down to, we have an Aldi like 2 blocks from me, just boop, 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 come right back in, but the balance is really just, if it wasn't for the styles of music, I don't think the balance would be as feasible. But with like the punk rock and the rock stuff, that's a little easier for me to play and to grab onto and to just get real quick. And then the villain stuff is very much, we've been playing it for forever, so we just, it's second nature. I've been playing it for a decade. The exhausted stuff is the more challenging stuff where I've got to like coordinate with more people, and there's the creativity in that band is just insane. There's just, everybody in that band is a very creative person and always puts their 2 cents in, and the songs really show that when we all start playing together. So
So
there's
do
just
you
3 different deals entirely.
feel like the creative flow with each band is kind of like an equalness between all of the members?
No,
Or do
no.
you find that there's like a little more like struggle with one as compared to the other?
I don't know if there's a struggle. They have different ways they kind of do things. The F is for Frank guys are more, Ken kind of writes most of the songs, and then me and Ken will kind of get together and figure that out. And the other guys kind of just complement what's happening. In Pray for Villains, it's me and Ryan. They write most of the songs, the other guitar player. And then Jay will come in and we'll teach him the vocal lines and all that kind of stuff. And then he'll start singing, and, he'll take it and make it its own, make it his own like vibe. And then that'll turn into the Pray for Villains songs. In Exhausted, it's pretty much the exact opposite. Those boys want their hands in like every little thing for the most part. So we'll start playing a riff, and maybe Nick's got ideas because Nick plays bass, or maybe Doug's got ideas because Doug writes songs too, and we start melding to everybody, and it just turns into a pretty awesome product. I mean, the stuff that we've done thus far, I'm super proud of, and I'm just so happy to work with those guys. Those guys are great musicians, and it's an honor to work with them.
Well, everybody knows I'm a big Pray for Villains fan. You guys are on my playlist. I've shared you on our podcast playlist. I checked out all the FS for Frank stuff that I could find on Spotify and YouTube. I scoped it all out, added some of it to my own personal playlist. And I have checked out some of the stuff that you guys have posted online for the Exhausted band. But being that you're kind of saying that it's a little bit newer, is there stuff out there on Spotify and YouTube to go down the rabbit hole on?
There's only 3 songs as of yet that we've recorded.
Okay. And do you guys expect or have plans to kind of put like a CD out? And is it going to be like a digital version only?
It'll probably be digital only, just because that's kind of where the market's going. It's in most cases, it's just not feasible to buy CDs and sell them. You'll usually sit on them. So that if we're gonna do merch, because that's really the band's only income nowadays is merch. We don't get paid a lot for shows, if we get paid at all in most cases. So the merch is where we do. We're t-shirt salesmen. It's kind of what we do. And the CDs don't sell as well, so we probably won't do that. But we are planning on doing another EP this year and having another 3-track EP dropped, and then we're already starting another 3 songs after that. So
nice.
There'll be regular releases from Exhausted. Give it a few years, and there'll be at least a CD and a half.
Okay. So something to kind of look forward to then in the future. Yeah, Alex and I are definitely merch junkies. We were just talking about that before you joined us, that we have all these, I at least have all of these t-shirts from all of the shows that we've gone to this year, and I was like, I might have to send these back to South Dakota and have Scott make me a hoodie.
You just got too many.
My addiction is buying hoodies themselves
Oh yeah.
instead of just getting a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, the hoodies.
But sometimes I'm like, I can buy 3 t-shirts if there's 3 bands for what I can buy 1 hoodie for.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so I have to be like, maximize my spending limit here.
Yeah.
So I have this huge amount of hoodie or t-shirts, and I was like, I could just make a hoodie out of these.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, I got a bunch of band shirts too. So I mean, like, it's like all black shirts for the most part. You know, it's just kind of.
And that's most definitely like a favorite color for bands when we go places. I have one baby blue hoodie that I bought at a concert this past year, but all the rest of them were black. So, how? I know that I had asked before when we had talked about when you guys tour, like how far out is your circle of tourage? You know, if you're all over Sioux Falls, do you venture out like down to Sioux City, down to Omaha? Do you go up into Minneapolis, or are you just a very like local hike?
You know, I can't speak for all the guys in some of those bands, but you know, we don't play outside of town very often. It's usually in town. Some of that is probably my fault. You know, with the kids, it's difficult for me to feel comfortable, you know, driving out to Minneapolis and trying to find a place for my boys to stay comfortably. So we don't do that a lot. I'm not opposed to it, but I also won't go out and play a little venue for, you know, like no gas money and no pay for the thing, you know. So till I think we're a little bigger and, you know, we can actually bring a crowd places that we're not from, then we might do more of that, you know. But as of right now, it's just not feasible from my standpoint. I can't speak for the other guys, you know. I'm 1 vote out of 5 in every one of those bands. So if I get outvoted, I'm going, I'll figure it out. But generally, that's my standpoint on it.
And then, sorry, my question just ran out of my brain.
Yeah.
I had one. And it ran away.
You asked me about touring. Does it help?
I know that I had something that it was kind of related to touring, but then it was like kind of not related to touring. Oh, thanks. I know what it is now. So I know that Pray for Villains has played. How many years have you guys so far played in the Four Winds Arts Festival downtown?
I think it's been 3. I think we've done 3 years. Yeah, because we
So
played 2.
has the festival only been operating for 3 years?
No, I think it's going on 10. So the next one's a 10-year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, are you guys allowed to say if you're already? I have already seen the post saying that the Four Winds is booked. All of its slots are full. So, are you guys allowed to say whether or not you're playing that festival again this year?
I don't have the authority to make that decision.
Okay. Because then my next question was going to be,
the odds look good.
What was that?
I said the odds look good.
The odds look good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Would it be one of those situations where like all 3 of your bands are playing it again, or just like, the chances of one of them playing?
So Ephes for Frank has never played it. The Exhausted guys played last year, right after the Villains guys. I mean, it's probably gonna be something like that. Yeah, that'd be all.
So, but you guys only play in that Sioux City. I'm so sorry, Sioux Falls weekend. But I know that I saw that Four Winds also did a Rapid City show and an Omaha show.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's doing all 3. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and so are they
like?
Do they fall like on back-to-back weekends?
Not sure. I suppose the dates and stuff. I haven't gotten any of that stuff, so I don't know yet. I'd have to talk to Jay about all that kind of stuff. If the dates are settled when we're booked or if we're booked or all that kind of stuff. So, but I would assume that Corey's a good guy and he's booked us a bunch of times, so I would assume he probably.
I do see that Pray for Villains has a lot. Like, you guys have still been really busy
Yeah, we
towards this last half of 2024, and I kind of see stuff popping up for 2025 already. What is it that Jay has been posting on Facebook?
There's a deathcore cover show that's coming out, and it's going to be at the Icon at Data.
There's that one, but is that now that's what I call deathcore?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And they're gonna do a bunch of throwback deathcore songs, like kind of surprises. I'm not gonna the ones that I know I'm not gonna rat out, but they've shared some of them.
But you guys are playing in that show, correct?
We are playing. So apparently there's gonna be a couple opening bands. So Great Solace and us will definitely be playing.
So is it which one of the bands is playing? Is it you with Pray for Villains, or is it you with Pray for Villains is playing? Yeah, like I keep pretty good tabs on you guys. I wish that you were like that we were all closer so we could come hang out and like see those shows, because I do listen to the music a lot. It's somehow I ended up with Falling Skies on my playlist like 3 times. I'm like, I don't know how you got added. So like, yeah, so like every couple hours I'll hear it pop up again. I'm like, what? Where did you come from? So like I do really like that. So I follow what you guys are doing there, and then started kind of following what you're doing with the Exhausted Band and seeing the clips that you guys are posting on Facebook a lot.
Oh yeah.
And kind of getting a taste for what that music is evolving as it evolves. Do you see a change in the way that each one of the bands has evolved in their styles a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Like the Episode Frank, just to start with the more of the rock stuff. They started as kind of like a 3-chord rockabilly band, and now it's kind of coming into more of a hard rock beats that stuff. So they're just gonna get a little darker, a little faster, a little heavier, which is cool. That's more my forte. And then the Pray for Villain stuff is probably gonna go more melodic. So the stuff we've been writing has been some is going to be faster, but it's also going to be more melodic on the melodic end. We've been kicking around songs for a long time that are more catchy, more melodic, more.
I like it though.
Might hear like the Falling Skies, yeah. Like in that
and like Jarrell just has such a really good like voice for that. I feel like, and in a way, listening to your guys' older stuff and then listening to the newer stuff that you had where Falling Skies came out, and there's so much more of just his voice, if that makes sense. And I'm like, ooh, you have such a good range here and such a good sound to have an opportunity to maybe like hear more of that. Is that what you're hinting at?
Yeah, I mean, so the goal here is to expand our sound as much as we can and try to still make it favorable for the old cats who like the heavy stuff, and for new people as well. So to find a balance between the two. And I've always been a melodic guy. I love melody, and if we can infuse more and more melody into it and it fits really well, we're going to do that. So
awesome. I'd like to hear that. It gives us something as fans to look forward to in this new year and of this new music phase too.
Yeah, and we're writing with the 2 new guys that came in, Bruce Shannon and Alex Scar, and they're great players. They're really going to add to the whole flavor of that band. So incorporating them is going to be pretty awesome to hear where that kind of goes, because I mean they're 2 beasts. So we haven't had a bass player for years, so it's kind of nice.
Hey, aren't you talking about? Yeah, because I remember that we had kind of talked about that a little bit last April. That you guys were kind of looking for some new additions and replacements.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they both play in other bands. So Bruce Shannon plays in in Grave Solace. If
Okay,
you haven't heard Grave Solace, they're a great band. Those kids are
they're
awesome.
gonna be
They're
on the
like the next
show.
gen. Yeah, they're killer. They're so good. And then Alec plays in God Cult, which is also a very heavy, amazing, almost like deathcore meets hardcore band.
Okay, I
That's
hadn't heard
that's
of that
also
one yet.
awesome. Yeah.
I was telling somebody the other day that I, I'm like you're friends with Scott.
Yeah, I know Scott. Yeah.
And so Scott was kind of my way in, when we started the podcast, he was very like, just do it, just do it. This sounds like a really great idea. And I was like, okay, well, you're kind of going to be my way in. And we've just really found this community down there in the Midwest of artists, entertainers, musicians that are very eager to sit down and have a conversation with us. And a majority of our guests that come on and talk with us, they're all from about like the Sioux Falls area and the Rapid City area, just to kind of like see how much that area has grown musically and really started to have this awesome music scene. It's like I'm jealous for one of your guys' music scene. I feel like it really has started to kind of pop in the last few years.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So when we started, in the early 20s, there was probably a handful of metal bands, maybe two or three of us, but some of us are just stubborn. We're not going anywhere. We either reform into a new band or we stay the same band, change the name, and stick around. So I think that scene is pretty much grown because there's just been some faithfuls that are just we're not leaving. We're not leaving.
It really has. I mean, we lived in the Sioux Falls area for about 15 years. And it wasn't really until I got to start hanging out with Scott a lot that I got more involved with the music scene there. And then unfortunately, like COVID kind of hit and everything mellowed out.
Mm-hmm.
But from my viewpoint, it kind of seems like, once the COVID kind of wasn't really at the forefront of everybody's mind, that area is seeing kind of an explosion.
Yeah, I mean we've seen some bands that are coming up that are they're just awesome. Like Reviver was one of those bands that about we were around for probably 8 years at that time, and then Reviver came out, and Reviver was awesome. So if you haven't heard of Reviver, Reviver's another great local band out here. More on the deathcore stuff, but very heavy, and there's plenty of melody in there with the guitar work. I mean, those guys are very good. If you like After the Burial and that kind of stuff, those guys are in that kind of ilk.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, they're on my list now.
Oh yeah.
I'm
probably the guy to talk to about that kind of stuff because I hang out with a lot of guys, and Jay does too, where we've just met all these bands and played shows with all these bands. And
I'm very thankful that we kind of have been allowed into kind of like the inner circle and to kind of get like the backstages of so many of the groups in the Midwest as far as that music scene goes, because all of you have been so welcoming. Like when we came down even for Buddha's birthday party, and we're just like walking around and chit-chatting with people, and it was a lot of fun. I kind of stood back there by the merch booths for a while and visited with the guys from Grave Solace. I got to visit with the guys in like Murder because they were back there by the table.
Oh yeah. Those guys are cool.
Yeah, so I kind of got to visit with a couple of them for a few minutes, and getting to see like you and Jay out, even though he had said I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, he shows up all dadded out, like he just woke up, like he took his nap.
Right. Like I thought you said you weren't coming to the show, and then in that same time, like just like being back in that area, that town where we hadn't even been back to Sioux Falls since we left. Like we literally only were there for the birthday party and to kind of like mix and mingle with people that we had on the show, and everybody was so like warming. I even walked around as I was walking around and had people go, "Hey, I've seen your podcast," and I was like, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah, I mean the scene is really cool. I mean, we all know each other. We some of us grew up together, like the 23 Cent Solution guys. Played so many shows with those guys. Those guys played like shows before Flux did. They had like 2 or 3 shows, and but the singer Matt Hansen, he's a buddy of mine, and we go back, and it's just crazy how like tight knit we kind of all are, and how we're all like friends, and get along really well and like the same stuff. I mean, it's just it's weird. It's turned into quite the scene over
Oh,
the
but
past decade.
I feel like though it's such a strong community. Like
Yeah,
it's more than just a scene. It's a community of individuals that have come together, and their goal is to make music be happy and help everybody, kind of like uplifting everyone.
that is exactly it. I think when we were all younger, we were more competitive. Like who's gonna kill it tonight? Like that kind of thing. But as you get older, you kind of realize like the best show that can be put on is if every band is just firing on all cylinders. It doesn't matter if they're the opening act or they're the closing act. If everybody's just supporting each other, sticking around, encouraging each other, advertising for each other, talking about the other bands, this is what the scene is about. This is what the scene needs. It needs people feeding it. So
And I mean, like, and for like on our end of it, I feel like we try to like share things and pump it up, and you know word of
we
mouth it a
appreciate
lot.
we appreciate that there's like people who are not making the music who like it. It's one thing to toot your own horn. It's another thing to have fans that like it.
Yeah, to have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Well, I have always just been like a lover of music, and all of my children were all raised in like that love for music. I even tried to pass it on, even though there were times I'd be like, Alex, I cannot understand what you are listening to. Because Alex just like went through a phase where, and has a sister, and
It all started because I got a hand-me-down laptop that had OTEP on it. And then I went from OTEP to Chiodos to I Set to Kill, and then to, what's that band that sings Nymphetamine? Cradle of Filth.
Cradle of Filth.
That's how it
Yeah,
works.
so
It's
it
like
only
it's like a rabbit hole.
went.
You just, like stumble down this heavy ass fucking hole. Next thing
I'm
you know,
pretty sure I just jumped off the cliff at that point and said yeet.
Yeah. So like they kind of all were, and then I've gone through the thing where like I've had the kids that listen to only German music on repeat, and I'm like, I literally do not know what you were listening to another one that got just down the rabbit hole in the K-pop craze.
that's okay. Hey, it's about, do you love music, and whatever genre you love, that is totally okay. Like my boys do love music and listen to all kinds of stuff. They love like Queen. They love Imagine Dragons. They love any YouTube music. If there's like a YouTube artist who's like make music for games, oh my god, they just go crazy for that stuff.
Oh, have they heard of we're gonna name drop here, a band called Sean James?
Oh yeah, that's me though. I love Sean James.
Dude, I've been trying to tell Alex, and I cannot remember what song of his is on. It's a video game song.
It's Hellhounds. It's on The Last of Us. I'm pretty sure. We'd have to Google it.
That's what I'm doing.
Alex, I see it. Alex is
Yeah.
like, I want it. Because I was like, I know that like if I could come up with the name of the song or the video game that it was on, you would know
Yeah.
what it was.
It's on The Last of Us. I just can't remember what the name of the song, if it's Hellhounds or if it's something like that.
Okay, he
Through
was
the
at
Valley.
There you go.
when was it? In September. They played at Motorco, and I was taken, kind of like had to like step back for a second to watch their electric violinist rock it out on stage.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's
Like,
surrounded himself with a great band, but that voice, oh my god, that voice is unbelievable. He's so good.
yeah.
So good.
So I that's the one thing I do like about where I work is I do get to I get paid first off to go to a show, which is a bonus. And when I come out of it with, my ears full of new music that's like stuck in there, it's like extra bonus.
Yeah.
So I get to be part of a music scene, but it's not necessarily in the way I always want it to be. I want to be more in it like this, having a conversation with the artist all the time. I want to find out, like where they come from. What do they see in the future? Like, what do you kind of see in your future, like with
I
your
mean,
band?
my goal is real simple. I just want to make as much music as I can before I die. That's it. Just make as much as I can and share it. And like I'm sitting on tons of just like bits and pieces and songs and things that are just uncompleted. So like,
Nice.
and they
Yeah.
don't stop coming. Like the more I play the guitar, the more stuff comes out of me. Um, so that's my goal, is to just not waste all this time I've spent practicing and not do anything with it. The creative bug is a part of my life, and I have to do it. I'm compelled.
I kind of always say that I'm going to make a million memories, not $1 million. And that's kind of how I feel sometimes. Like, I don't know that I'll ever, hit the $1 million mark in my lifetime, but to have a million memories or a million important moments is
It's all
kind
about
of
just trying to find that thing that makes you like just excited, like want to get up and go do that, and like it's all you think about. That's what you're going for. Just trying to be. I think we always want to be happy, right? In the end, whatever makes us happy. And for me, it's making music. For other people, it might be listening to music. They might, want to go travel the world and see all this stuff. I don't really have any interest in that, but I love making music. Like I get so giddy when I finish a song. I'm like high for like a day and a half.
nice. I have a friend that he always talks about just, selling everything and living the camper lifestyle and traveling. And I'm over here like, that sounds disgusting.
No, I like my bed. I like my shower. Like I like consistency because I can't really be very creative if I'm wandering around.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that kind of a lifestyle is not like, I agree with you. The consistency of like, this is my stuff, and I can go take a really long shower, and it's okay if I've had a bad day,
Yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's home. It's home.
I
I
can
like my home.
drive 3 hours and go bug Alex if I'm having a really, really bad day.
I mean, I
I'm
have
just like,
space now.
Grandma, you what?
I have space now,
Right.
but
We
there's
kind of had
waffle
to
mix
think a little.
currently across my entire kitchen.
What is across your kitchen?
Waffle mix.
Waffle mix. It went.
Still have not cleaned that up.
No, Sam did it.
The kid used a froth mixer on the pancake.
Well,
mix.
okay, but I have mastered it. Sam has not. And the other day, she tried to do it, and she made a mess. I cleaned most of it, but there's still a little bit. It's everywhere.
First apartments, the struggle.
I get you.
This is my second one.
That's Sam's first one.
That's fair. That's fair.
Maybe I'll stay home until you clean up the pancake mix. So, and how do you like? So we've talked a lot about music and balance and all that. What do you do for like your day job? That boring part of life.
I am an insurance adjuster and inspector.
You know what? I remember that conversation.
I either call people on the telephone and ask them like questions about their properties and how they run their business, or I go out to a job site and actually inspect the building that they operate their business in.
Kind of a 9 to 5 thing. Or
I can kind of make my own schedule. It's just got to get it done. It's by the job, so
okay.
but for the most part, it is during the day. Yeah.
So, it can allow a little bit of flexibility for your family life in there.
Yeah. That's kind of the beauty of it, is like I can still, pick my kids up and get them to school and do all that kind of stuff, and if they want to come with me on a run, they can come with me on a run. They just sit in the car and then I'll just go do my job and then come back out. So it's not it's quite a bit of freedom, but it's also you have to be on the ball. Like you're the one making all the rules. You have a boss, but for the most part, you're the one who's got to like get stuff done to get paid.
Yeah, I can see that. Like there are days I want to fire myself at work.
Same.
That's That's where I'm at. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I had a boss that I could complain to about myself. And then some days I get to work and I'm like, you forgot a very important piece of your equipment today, and you cannot go back and get it. You are fired. So that's I feel like having a job where you kind of have flexibility is a must when you're in the entertainment industry.
Kind of. I mean, up until last like year or so, I was doing 6 a.m. till 4:30. So I was working a regular. I was driving a forklift. I mean, these are the metal guys you're talking to here. They're laying pipe and framing and like they're not doing you know they're not
That
playing
early
music.
morning stuff,
Yeah.
I hate early mornings.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. But with kids and getting them to school, you don't really have a choice. I have a high
I
school, so I got to drive his ass to school. So I got to get the fuck out of
I just keep telling myself if I ever get wealthy enough, I'm gonna homeschool my son so we don't have to get up at 6:30.
there. Yeah, I mean, homeschool is an
Surprisingly, Alex gets up early for work
option.
all on his own, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you for being a big kid.
I hate it.
Yeah. So, um, thank you for coming to hang out with us again, Frank,
Yeah.
and chatting with us all about the music. And I'm really excited to see what all of these bands are doing within the next year. Can you kind of give us an idea of like where they can find your music and follow you guys?
So we have a Facebook for Epis for Frank. Okay. That's also there's like probably what 6, 7 tracks on Spotify with Epis for Frank stuff. Pray for Villains has an Instagram and a Facebook, but they also have their stuff on all platforms as far as the Bloodlines EP, and then we have a previous EP that has 3 songs on it that are very different from the stuff we released.
Oh,
Recently.
yeah. I love Ego.
Yeah, a lot of people love Ego. We hear that a lot. Ego's a fan favorite. And then the Exhausted guys, they have a Facebook and a TikTok and an Instagram. So they have all 3. Exhausted Band is what that one's called. We just have the EP that's out on all platforms, but there's going to be another one here probably within 6 months to 8 months. Kind of depends on how fast we can get in there and get it done. But there's enough music now to keep cranking them out and keep it kind of relevant. So
I'm excited.
and then shows are just going to pour out. So you'd have to follow those pages to find the shows when they're happening. I know that, I don't know if I can talk about this one, but the Browning's coming to Sioux Falls, and one of my bands might have got on that bill. And the Browning's pretty awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. Awesome. Again, thank you for coming to chit chat with us. I absolutely love talking to you. It's nice to know that I'm not
It's
the
good
only
chat.
other
It's good chat. You guys are fun.
the only other crazy parent that has a very busy life trying to.
Chaos. Yeah, the deer in the headlights is regular.
Yes, make those ones. So, if you're out there and you want to check out his bands, go find them on all of the things, Facebook and Instagram. And thank you for coming to Chit Chat with us.
All right. Thank you.
The button.